Ready to start? Good stuff. I think I've got to press that there as well. There we are. One final press of a button. Now we can begin. Here we go, everyone. This week's ShineCast is underway any second now. Well, hello to you. Welcome to ShineCast. I'm Martin Shine. It is Friday, the 26th of March, 2021, as I say this. And, well, we're here, as always, to have a discussion. You can join in on the topics that we're talking about, or even if you think you can bring something else to the table. We want to hear from you. Thanks for joining us wherever you are, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, or anywhere else for that matter. I'm going to say very, very quick hello to my friend Jimmy Heaven. He's joining us as always across the world. We travel instantaneously to Japan. How are you doing, Jimmy? Oh, he's doing good. But first of all, I've got to make sure that the technology is all switched on. How are you doing?
Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, whatever. Yeah, whatever time it is there. It's a good evening to me. Good afternoon to you. Tea time. Tea time for you.
It's just after 20 minutes to 3 p.m. on this Friday afternoon in London, England. As I say this, but as you say, it could be any time, depending if someone's watching the replay.
So it's a little bit early for tea then. It's a little bit early for tea.
Well, it depends what tea you're talking about, because, of course, a lot of people refer to tea as sort of something between lunch and their evening meal, called dinner, obviously, and they have a cup of tea and maybe some cake or a little snack.
What's the standard English tea?
But often there's a lot of people out there will refer to their evening meal as tea.
Okay.
Well, particularly in the north of England, I would say.
The regular, England, everybody thinks of when they think of like English tea time. What time? What time is it? Don't you have like a tea time special, or isn't there like?
If you're having a cup of tea and a scone, for example, I'd say probably about 4 p.m. Quarter to 4 p.m. Through till 4:30. Small window, because not long after that, maybe as early as sort of 6:30 in the evening, you might want to sit down, watch some TV, and have your evening meal.
Oh, okay.
Some people out there might disagree. If you do, get on here right now. Please, as I say, share, like, and follow. And if you're on haps.tv, or you can download their app by going to your iOS store or Android, then you have the option to join us in the chat as well. And that's all exciting stuff as well. We have Diva Dwarf here as always. I say as always, she's regularly joining us.
Diva Dwarf. What time does she have tea? What time does she have tea?
She's in the north of England. She's near Halifax, in sort of like the northwest of the UK or England. And tell us what your view is on that. Please do, Diva Dwarf. That'll be good to know. I hope you're well. I hope you're all well watching there at the moment, particularly as while we're broadcasting this, we're still muddling our way through the COVID-19 situation as well, with vaccinations well underway, another contentious issue for many people. So, Jimmy.
Yes.
What have you got?
I'm actually living. The area that I'm living in is pretty smooth sailing. Right now in Japan, it's the cherry blossom season, where the cherry blossom viewing goes on. So like the whole country is like turning white and pink flowers everywhere. And a lot of places they've tried limited viewings, because usually they put out blue sheets or have picnics underneath the trees, and they start drinking beer from the afternoon, having their lunch under the trees, under the cherry blossoms. And most cities have been stopping this now for this year, actually. So, but where I'm living, it's actually kind of a little bit opened up. So I'm going out this Sunday to the park.
Awesome. Well, apparently the rules are starting to change on Monday here somewhat slightly. You can go out and meet people where you haven't been encouraged to do so up until then. So that's in 3 days time from now. And then we're still waiting. We're near the end of March, and on the 12th of April 2021, non-essential stores, including particularly barbers, some of those, and as I say, barbers, hairdressers will be definitely open. And I think it's time for me to sort this out. And Jimmy, if you want to comment, but it's not necessary. I know your view on that, but
no, I mean,
get
I'm not cutting my hair, so I'd say just grow it.
Yeah, I don't think Kojak would have been Terry Savalas. He wouldn't have been.
Yeah, you can shave it. Shave it. You can shave it too. Grow a beard. Shave it off and grow a beard.
Well, Jimmy, trust me. I don't know if you're.
No, I'm talking about a full beard. Grow a full beard.
Well, yeah. Maybe I should put some of that, I don't know, like plant stuff on there that encourages it to grow. Maybe not. Anyway, we digress somewhat. Hey, as I say, overall, it's been a really positive week here. I'm glad to report, getting plenty done, and just feeling generally not that I wasn't positive before, but in a more energetic, positive place. So things are definitely happening on this side of the planet. What about you? I mean, overall, have things been good?
Yeah, I'm good. Actually last week I had a cold, so I had to shoot out a little early, but I'm at the end of the cold. I have a little bit of cough left. You know what's really stressful during this year and last year is to actually get sick is being stressful. Like not that, like you're already getting sick, which is bad, but when you get sick, like you have to like question it. Okay, is it COVID-19? I got a cough. Is it COVID-19? I got a headache. Oh my God, is it do I got the coronavirus? You can't like be sick. You cannot just be sick.
There goes our PG-13.
Out. No, no. You have to be stressed out. I'm totally stressed out about it. So you outside in public, you have to go somewhere. You have to do your business. I only got a cold, so it's not such a big deal. I can't even fucking cough. I'm gonna cough and everybody's gonna look at you.
Our PG-13 definitely out the window, probably for the foreseeable.
I will try to limit my language here.
Limit it? What do you mean? We're going to mute you? Right. Moving swiftly on, we have another guest here today. Hopefully we'll have more than one. Anyone's welcome to join, but one person who has intentionally joined us today, he's more than welcome. And without further ado, let's skip across to the USA and say once again hello to Eric Hypes, who's near Knoxville on the Eastern Standard Time Zone. Hi, Eric. Well, how you doing?
Hi.
Doing really good this morning. Thank you.
Good stuff. Excellent. Almost forgetting to unmute you there. I tell you what, with presenting and sort of following the conversation as well as making sure the tech is in order. It's no easy task. I'll leave it there. But anyhow, thank you for joining us. And how's your week been overall since we last spoke here on ShineCast?
It's been good. It's been a little busy. I'm starting to learn I'm going to have to really prioritize and get a good time regimen to make sure I get all my stretching and exercises done with all the other activities that are coming up.
Some sort of structure, it sounds like what you're talking about, because you and I, in so many words, have been talking briefly over the week, and things are pretty positive for you at the moment as well, aren't they, when it comes to, this community for sure on haps.tv.
Yes, it's really good. Everything's kind of moving forward, getting busy, making a lot of new friends and connections. And
so you're broadcasting too, Eric? You're broadcasting on your own too?
Yeah, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at like 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm kind of progressive or slowly kind of moving into more of what I'm going to do. Right now, I'm just kind of talking about like meditation and different spiritual practices and dreams and things like that. And then later in the year, I'll start actually kind of doing some live demonstrations of different things.
Okay, tell me when you start giving out lottery numbers. Then I'll start a.
I've explicitly been told I can't do the lottery numbers. That'll affect me in a negative way.
No, I know about that. I know that you're supposed to use your whatever energy or power you have. It's the karma thing. Yeah. But got to be guided by karma. Good stuff. Yeah, absolutely. I'm only joking.
What's at the top of the list at the moment, Eric, when it comes to spirituality and that side of things, sixth sense, and all the sort of, all the sort of areas of conversation that most people, I would debate, don't have frequently enough, if at all, with themselves or people around them. What right now is sort of heavy in the ether, so to speak, and where should we be focusing?
Yeah, that's a good question. Surprisingly enough, something that you and Jimmy Martin talk about quite a bit is, just what's going on in the day-to-day real world, so to speak. And I when I work with people, one of the first things I tell them is, first you got to be honest. That's like the most important first thing, and then that also entails you got to be honest with yourself. So one of the first things people should start really being concerned with is cleaning out all their false belief systems. And that's what y'all talk about a lot here on ShineCast. Is there's a lot of programming out here, and so you got to kind of, your cup's kind of full right now, and you kind of got to empty it out so you can refill it with the proper appropriate stuff. And then once you do that, you have to really start getting into discernment, discerning what's good for you, what's not good for you, what applies to you, what applies to other people. And just having that dialogue, asking questions with the sincerity to actually get answers that are in truth.
Right. Yeah. That's this is what I'm sort of talking about. Absolutely, is that we just need to have this dialogue more. We need to be aware, certainly more. The average person, which I say I once was, I'm not sure I'm completely out of that zone yet, but
yeah,
certainly I'm ready to.
Pretty average.
There you go. But I'm always willing to listen to new ideas, thoughts, and be educated, because that's it. We don't just leave school, college, university, and that's it. We're always learning every day, as you know, from the moment we wake up to the moment we our mortal coils head for some rest. So yeah, enlightening ourselves as well as obviously others is a good thing. And as I've said plenty, and I'll say in the future, just because we're not quite there yet ourselves doesn't mean that we can't sort of help with people that are just starting on that journey as well. So however much we've learned, however small it is, the snakes and ladders board analogy again, if you started the game last week and you're already on number 22, then you don't need to be at 100 to be helping those that are just starting out from 0, 1, 2, 3, etc.
Absolutely.
Now, we've just come out of Mercury Retrograde, and I just want to be put right here as well. We don't want to get sort of, certainly we're not going to focus on one area at the moment, say, for example, like with horoscopes and astrology, but does that play a part in some way, even if it's kind of the same theories, shall we say, and resources, even though they may be the same and looked at or have different names, etc., and terminologies, are they connected in a big way with what you're involved with in spirituality?
Yeah, like Jimmy and I were talking before the show, like a lot of times with my information that I receive through source or spirit or my higher self or whatever you want to call it, it'll kind of lay out like what's kind of coming, what I need to be aware of, what I need to focus on, what factors might be playing in or around or with me. And then when I dial into people who are really into astrology and kind of know what energies are affecting us right now and what are going to be affecting us throughout the next 2 or 3 months, I'll hear them speak to the same things I'm being spoken to about, but they'll have the details. They'll have like, well, Mercury retrograde is going to have this effect on us, and it's going to make these things kind of be more prevalent. And I'm like, oh, well, that'll usually compute and make sense to me based on the information I have, and I can kind of see how that plays out.
Okay.
And like with the Mercury retrograde, a lot of people, when they hear about it, they're like, oh gosh, we're in Mercury retrograde. And they start kind of pointing the finger and passing the buck, so to speak. And for me, in the last 3 or 4, 5 years, it's more about realizing, okay, we're in Mercury retrograde, And that's actually bringing things up that I need to look at. Like if I'm having communication problems with a certain individual, maybe start looking into that and say, why am I having those issues? And that way I can speak to it better, or maybe kind of polish or rub that stone a little bit and get some more clarity and maybe some traction with that person or that situation. So it's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, everybody takes it, as I think I mentioned before. People read whatever you read into. There's like so many ways of reading things. I think any information, I try not to read bad into anything. It's just a different angle or different perspective. And so that's why, when you read, we don't want to get too much into this, but like horoscopes, it'll be like 100 people giving you 100 different kinds of reading. Depending on who's reading it, their perspective is a little bit different. So, and anything that's, there's really nothing negative. There's really nothing negative. It's just everything is a turning point. If it's usually when people say it's a negative thing or you're like in a downswing of things, it's usually just a turning point. So
yeah.
Absolutely, as you said, reflection, self-reflection at the moment,
Yeah, good point, Jimmy. Good point.
One thing that is always on my mind, it's one of the first things, and few things that I know about Mercury retrograde, is that as the planet Mercury does have a lot to do with communication and important matters, like, for example, communications have to do with deals, agreements, that sort of thing in our everyday existence, maybe signing a contract for a new car, or a house.
Let me mention something, Martin, right now, because you mentioned a car. Mercury is not only for the communications. Also, I think it's supposed to. You're supposed to be careful of buying. Was it electronics and stuff like that too, and cars, motor things, because the possibility of you having to return them, because during this time things get a little fishy.
Yeah.
So don't buy a car during Mercury retrograde.
But otherwise, you might end up with a mermaid from that last comment that Jimmy was making there.
No, you might have to return it. That's what they usually say.
No, that's Well, the other thing is as well. I mean, it might have a fault with it, mechanical fault, electrical fault. This is why it's always a good thing to wait until Mercury is no longer in retrograde before signing the deal.
All electronics, a lot of other electronics, whether it be computers and other things like that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good point. Always, and I always, as I say, that's something that if I'm going to start, maybe if I have a new client, and it's a nightmare if the new client is new at the beginning of Mercury retrograde. I kind of have to somehow hold them off. Not necessarily just basically when it comes to signing the deal, it might take longer with me to do than it might otherwise, because I want to do it just after that period of time when Mercury's settled down once again.
We got these new people. Who just Gabriel Williams.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't seen her. I'm looking at her profile. Oh, look at that. You're not going to believe it. I'm going to subscribe to you, Gabriel. She is from Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. Guess what? I was born in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
There you go. Isn't that
6 degrees of separation?
Yeah, wait, look at that. Yeah. I was born in Fort Leonard Wood on the military base there. Yeah. Quite a while ago. Yeah. So interesting.
So the energy's working for you there, Jimmy. See,
the energy's working. Is it just a coincidence? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to ask. Well, you have to ask Gabriel Williams what sort of message was received to be drawn into the broadcast, and then
Yeah.
Anyhow, getting back to this, so Mercury now retrograde, that's sort of completed for this latest example of that, should we say? So what's next? What's coming up next in terms of the planets and the universe in general, and the energy when it comes to spirit?
Well, it was interesting because Jimmy was talking about right now we're in Neptune retrograde. Was that right?
Somebody mentioned I was talking with a friend and she mentioned was it Neptune retrograde? I guess during, I don't know if it's starting or we're in it at now. Let me actually, you know what? I'm going to do a quick check. 2021.
So that what Jimmy was explaining to me was that there's a lot of falsehoods kind of going on right now, and that you need to kind of check yourself before you wreck yourself, so to speak. And you're not seeing everything until the summer. And that really lined up with what I've been getting. I'm kind of progressively moving through this year in different stages. May, as I've talked to you, Martin's going to be kind of big. But from what I've gotten from myself, it's not going to be till July until things start really, really starting to shine.
Well, here we go. I'm sorry.
Excuse the pun.
When I'm reading now is actually I made a mistake. It's retrograde. It's going retrograde in June. Neptune is going retrograde in June. So I guess that's when it's supposed to clear up. I guess when it goes retrograde, we see things clear. I'm not quite sure. We have to get somebody else to inform us on that. And it's going to be retrograde until the end of the year.
If anyone knows better, please do indeed let us know in the chat right now, and that'd be good. Yeah. So
okay, here hold on. Let me listen here. So while Neptune is in retrograde, what it's going to do is it lifts the fog off of all illusion. So that's what we're talking about. So that means you're talking about July, where everything's going to become clear. That's what it is. So I guess I misread the meaning of it, but so that's what it means. So when it becomes retrograde, the fog will be lifted and everything will be a lot clearer. We'll be able to see through the fantasy illusions.
Yeah, which I still kind of got the same.
Excuse me?
And I was just wondering if you were going to start shifting towards the pandemic theory and all that with regards to seeing through.
No, I think we had enough of that, no?
Well, yeah, but it's still ongoing. And no, I just wondered if you think that what might be able to occur is a lot more people will be understanding the situation for what it really is, shall we say? I mean, right now, for example, with COVID-19, we've had some emergency measures in place when it comes to laws and people being able to travel internationally. Unless you have a very good reason to do so, you cannot travel internationally out of the UK at the moment. And that's been like that for quite a number of weeks now. And this week, yesterday, the Prime Minister requested that these measures are extended significantly, and they have been for a further approximately 6 months, end of September, beginning of October. So those measures are still in place now. And once again, you've kind of lost your freedoms in the meantime. And we just wonder how long that's going to go on for. And talking about, seeing things for what they really are, to some degree, I mean, surely by now we can see that in some way, certain people are taking advantage of the situation, putting aside whether the virus was man-made, was it intentionally released to the planet and all that stuff. You will be able to see a bit clearer, I think, if nothing else, where we're heading. That's my opinion anyway, certainly.
Gabriel Williams, she says, retrograde is a wonderful blessing in disguise. It illuminates the problems and offers logical solutions. So she seems to be a little bit insightful to that.
Yeah. Which is kind of like what you and I were talking about earlier, Jerry. Yeah. Okay, so Helga says, I didn't get the invite today.
Well, she's certainly able to join any time that she wants to, because she received one a short time ago while we've been speaking, and she's just received another one now. So hopefully Helga, who's in the Netherlands, she'll be joining us once again, because we had a fascinating initial chat previously here on ShineCast. And hello from Walter. Should I say Westerville? It was almost H2Oville. But yeah, hello to you out there, Brenda, in the Buckeye State. Thank you for joining us, and I hope you're well. I hope you're all doing good. And anyone else out there going to have a little tap on the keyboard, or are you just going to keep looking without, letting us know that you've got something to say? This is for you guys and girls. We want your opinion. It's valued equally, if not more so, than mine. My thoughts and all the processes going up here at the moment. This is a joint effort, shall we say? Otherwise, you'd be watching traditional television, listening to traditional radio, and the whole idea is that we want you to interact, and we want your opinions. And even if you've got something else, give us a left hook. I don't mind. We're ready for it. Between us, we can deal with it. Is that right, guys? I think so.
Yeah.
Now,
we can deal with you.
So, yeah, Eric, we want to move on to this topic now. Jimmy, you're familiar with ayahuasca. I'm going to jump to it because I feel like we're not going to get there. Ayahuasca, when we're talking about spirituality, of course, a lot of it's been in everyday life. Forgive me, I mean, do debate with me if necessary. You have a different opinion, but in the Western world in general, certainly when we are leaving our education, getting into our first job, and things like that. We're so busy, we're so focused on all of that. We're pretty much conditioned that that is the way forward. You're going to earn your money, you're going to earn your keep and pay your rent or your mortgage, and as I've said before, and build your family. And then once you're wrapped up in all of that, you kind of lose touch with other, should we say, options and possibilities. Some people in their midlife, when they're a family person, and they still will look into this and enlighten themselves in any way spiritually. Just what's their existence all about? That's always a key one, isn't it? Why am I here? What's it all about? In so many words. So we know about ayahuasca being something that is fundamentally a South African.
No, South American.
South American. Thanks, Jimmy. Give me a chance.
It's from the Amazon, based on plants. It's a potion, as a what do you say, a brew, hallucinogen.
It's something from the South American region, specifically in the Amazon, and when it comes to tribal people. And so it's ayahuasca, which Eric, I'm sure, will explain a bit better than I, because I think his knowledge on it is far superior. But the limited knowledge that I have is that it is taken from a vine plant. The medication and all the ingredients natural, and when you have a ceremony and consume this, we said, what did we call it earlier on, Eric? A
brew.
Thank you. Yeah, still trying to remember that word. But when you consume that brew, then strange things, I use that word in quotes, strange things happen to you that you probably haven't experienced before anywhere else. And these days as well, people often go there. As I say, westernized people will go there just for the experience, almost like a busman's vacation holiday, if not, as I say, just for that spiritual interest and experience.
Like a retreat. It's like a spiritual retreat.
Yes. So what's this all about? And am I right in thinking that, it's only the last decade, maybe a little bit more, 11 years perhaps, that this has really been growing in popularity, and people are being more and more people are being enlightened, particularly through social media as well, I would say. What's your view on all that?
Yeah, it's becoming more popular, I guess we would say. And to kind of tie it in with, what you were talking about just a second ago about the whole pandemic and everything, like, I feel like whether people are aware of spirituality and its presence in the modern day, everything is divinely orchestrated to push us in that direction, to kind of nudge us. So, like you were saying, Martin, you think things are going to kind of move in that direction. I keep getting options from spirit. It's like whatever the collective decides to do. So if the powers that be want to put restrictions on plane rides and things like that, I'm starting to hear that there's going to be pushback from the public. And so a lot of what the ayahuasca is, because we're also talking about the Neptune and getting the clear the vision. People are finding out about ayahuasca from, like you said, South America and Peru and other places down there, where they can go and sit with someone who's experienced, usually a shaman, and they can participate in the digesting of this brew. And what that does is it really brings on the onset of these chemical reactions within inside your body. And usually for most people, it's, I know we're saying it's a retreat, and most people think a retreat is all pleasant, but usually with one of these shamanic journeys, it brings up a sickness, kind of, if you will. They might have to purge a lot of stuff. And so I find that interesting. That's exactly kind of what's happening in society, whether you're participating at this kind of level or not. So yeah, it's the prolonged boiling of the and I'll always mess this up. It's the Banisteropus or the Capivine with the leaves of the Psychotrovirdiris shrub. And so that's two main ingredients. And then usually depending on the shaman you're working with and his location where he is, he'll usually mix like at least one other herb in there or several other herbs. And then you either do this journey by yourself under the guidance of a shaman, or a lot of people are doing it in groups. And these people usually end up having to relieve themselves through, vomiting and other things. But basically, what it does is it releases DMT, which is dimethyl tryptamine, and they call that the spirit molecule. And what that does is it releases the DMT into your brain, and it activates certain neurological connections and allows you to have these what we call visions. Some people say I'm going on a vision quest, and I see somebody here says they eat shrooms for kind of those kind of reasons. And there's different ways to do it, but this is all natural.
DMT is starting to become a little more available. I mean, whether it's illegal or illegal, it's becoming, the DMT itself is becoming a little more readily available.
Absolutely. They've got some kind of synthetic version which you can smoke nowadays. You go on like a 5 to 15 minute trip is what they're calling it. But what you're finding is most of the people that even do the synthetics are having some kind of spiritual awakening, if you will, to a presence, a greater presence, something that's bigger than them. And usually when you look into the ayahuasca and other natural substances, what you're finding is that they go on this journey and they're meeting nature. They might have a spirit guide come to them. That's my dog's gonna bark at the postman, but Ella, come here. Come here. Come here. He's going to bring us
I'm glad
mail.
someone's looking out for you there, Eric. That's good. Now, have you much information and knowledge about this, Jimmy, yourself? I mean, have you ever looked into the possibility
I haven't tried.
America?
I haven't tried DMT. I've tried a lot of other things, but I haven't tried DMT. So I can't say much. And now I'm living in a country that's like very heavily regulated. There's absolutely no way I could be doing it here. Yeah, can't do anything here.
Right. Now, just want to pick up on something Eric was saying, and I think it's very important to note that people, when they do head and greet with the shaman, often they are being overseen during this ceremony, and I think is often very important, particularly if it's the first time you're doing something like that, because I've heard reports as well. A lot of people, they just, well, they're almost out of control, shall we say. Some, as you say, are vomiting. They're not feeling too good. So I think it's necessary, certainly, to be supervised while going through like we often do with new things in life. So yeah, it's worth emphasizing that, I think, for those that are sort of thinking about dabbling in such areas. Helga, welcome to you in the Netherlands. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I had my camera open and I tried 2 or 3 times to come into the room and it didn't work. So I messaged Eric if the broadcast was still going on.
Yes.
And suddenly I saw that I left my camera open and now I'm here.
Excellent. There you are. You see the energies working in mysterious and positive ways again today. Do you have much insight into the ayahuasca ceremonies and this side of our existence?
No. The only thing, when I listen to how it works, it is just to open that door of something that also exists inside of us.
Yes, it's some way to, see that myself. I couldn't agree more. It's something I've absolutely thought myself. It's almost like the beginnings of that new opportunity, and as we were saying before, something new for us to explore and just take on board as part of our everyday education, with our other senses, just to be aware that possibly there is more to our existence than those senses that we're already taught with allow us to realize.
To remember, because we came in a situation of forgetfulness. We were born with some of us, most of us, we forget through our life what we are. But like, for instance, Eric and Des, they could remain their essence, even though the struggles in life.
Very, very, very important. And thank you for another great, very simple and concise reminder. So you're saying almost that again, because we're all taught in sort of the Western way, it's very much use it or lose it. Most of us, we go to nursery, we go to school. Those around us don't really focus teaching us in that way, and therefore we very easily, as you say, forget it and don't even realize that we still have the potential there.
We do forget it, but we have to understand there's a large amount of people that even choose not to. So they
consciously
choose,
as well as subconsciously.
Subconsciously and consciously. So I think consciously they choose that.
Yeah, that's my point, because some people, that's my point. I said consciously as well as subconsciously, because I would suggest that a lot of people, that's it. They are subconsciously making a choice, because if they knew it consciously, they probably wouldn't make that choice and rid themselves of such a potential.
I don't believe that. Some people consciously make that choice, knowing everything, and make that choice also. That they are falling for like the immediate gratification of this material world.
Right.
And they would choose that over the spiritual part.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you suggest as well, you see now, was it DMT we mentioned as the substance, as the chemical which causes a reaction and is a large part of this, Eric? Is that correct? DMT?
Yeah, it's dimethyltryptamine, and the reason they call it the spirit molecule is because scientifically they've seen when you die, you hear a lot of people talking about going to the light or having these spiritual experiences, and maybe they come back to life, but they bring us stories of what happened. And so what they've been able to determine is when someone dies, there's a very large injection or secretion of this DMT into your system. And they've also found that it revitalizes the cells. So they theorize
last ditch efforts.
Yeah. So they're also theorizing if we were able to produce more of this in a coherent, harmonized way, we could probably do what a lot of people read in the ancient scriptures as we could live to be 800,000 years old, because we're going to constantly be replenishing our cellular structure in a spiritual way that keeps us alive. And when you're taking the DMT, like the shamans, they do this regularly. They don't just do it once in a while or once in a lifetime. They do it regularly, and so they've actually done studies on that. But to take it, it increases many traits associated with mindfulness, leading to the enhanced mood correlated with the decrease in the alpha brain waves, reducing the size of the brain region called the posterior cingulata cortex in long-term drinkers. So, here again, we're coming back to increasing your mindfulness. And Jimmy's saying, there's a lot of people that are are consciously not wanting to be mindful to these spiritual awarenesses. They're kind of entranced, if you will, into the physical, monetary world of, experience, and not knowing that when you step into this other world, when you marry the spiritual and the physical and the emotional together, you can reach states of bliss and ecstasy and heart opening love that I feel is what really everybody's seeking for nowadays. And so it's kind of like a conundrum. We're kind of stuck in a loop where we want these things that are available to us, but we keep participating in the physical or but I believe that's all. I feel that that's all divine, because we all have to individually kind of come into this appreciation for it, and no better way than to do that, to be totally entranced into this monetary system of reward through gratification, self-gratification. You kind of go to a low point, and then once you're able to have these self-realizations, you realize the things that are inside you is in everybody else, and then you can start raising your frequency, and then your life exponentially starts to evolve and get better. But you've got the scientific community very, very. I started looking into this a little bit just for this broadcast, and you've had scientists saying that this DMT affects the pineal glands of the rats, adding a calm and all these things, and really speaks to that. But then you've got other scientists that are saying that, it could be related to that, but it could also be just as easily that. This guy named Nicholas went to trait that one could just easily theorize, but that's theory, that DMT is nothing but a metabolic waste generated as by the production of synthesis of neurotransmitters like serotonin and tryptophan, which we get when we eat turkey. So, again, and like with what Jimmy was bringing up earlier, like with like astrology and a lot of these things, they're put into a label as pseudoscience. And so it's kind of like the system is trying to keep you away from these knowledges of yourself, and so it kind of puts it more in your power to do these things for yourself, or align yourself with other people that are doing it, and you can kind of move forward in that respect.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for that, Eric. Now, the DMT that I was mentioning just when you went into all those details, I'm assuming that's a substance around the world. It's regulated somewhat by local laws, national laws. Yes.
Yeah, and that comes back to the whole thing. I think I saw somebody make a comment earlier. All these things are regulated. They want to regulate whether you can, get on a plane and go somewhere without the vaccine, and all these things. When these things are all our God-given right, we have these things. So, what the scientists are proving, that there's a big injection of the DMT when we die, that is natural to us.
Right.
So they're trying to prevent us from evolving, if you will. They want to keep you entrapped.
Right, exactly, controlling us. And this is where I'm coming to, because my fundamental question I was leading to is, do we know for a fact that with all these, again, spiritual options where you have DMT being controlled? I mean, why control something when it's in the in nature and in our natural environment around us anyway, to a certain degree in a certain location? So why try and regulate it? What is it? And this is the question.
Yeah, open your mind.
Are possibly
it'll open your mind. It'll make you ask questions, discovery, self-discovery, and they don't want that. That goes against everything that they teach you. The rules of society you must follow for them to keep you in their cage. So
to complete my question, what is it that some people are, and the question also is, are some people trying to control us and keep us from, learning more, and they're trying to limit our knowledge because we potentially will become equal, if not better than them, and find other ways and, realize that we're actually being suppressed somewhat. So that was my full question, Jimmy. But anyone?
Yeah, well, that's been going on since the beginning of time. Was it civilization? The control factor doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And now we're coming. It's a big thing is that they're all coming together to try to control the whole globe now, all together. And the people at the top, a lot of people believe in magic. They believe in all these things that we're talking about, but they don't want you to have access to it. They know these secrets. These are hidden. These are secrets that have been given to us, through generation after generation. I mean, you even hear about these books that we don't even know about, that people have never seen, that are hidden in the Vatican. All this knowledge, probably originally from was it libraries of Alexandria, transcribed from Egypt. These secrets that. This is just knowledge they want to keep us. The people at the top, they have this knowledge. They know what's going on. They want to keep the illusion going.
Yes.
And the paradigm
it's getting more difficult.
Yeah. The paradigm is they have the knowledge, but they can't participate. Because like at the beginning of the broadcast, you asked me what would be the things at the forefront for stepping into your spirituality, and it's honesty. And so they're not being honest. And so they can't do the things that I or Helga or Gabrielle does, and they can't see these things because they are blocking themselves. But as again I say, this is all divine. This is set up for them to be the control system so that we can become sovereign beings. We have to rise up and realize these things for ourselves. And so we actually need these controllers to kind of do this.
Right. No, I absolutely understood, Eric. And before we continue, you mentioned Gabrielle Williams, who is actually about to join us any moment now when I press the right buttons here. That one might help. And we can see you now, Gabrielle. Hello to you. Yes, you're there. Oh, good.
Hello.
I sound so shocked that the technology is actually working, and this sound's working as well now. So hello to you in the USA as well, with Eric.
Yeah. Yep, I'm like a hop and a skip away from Eric.
You had quite a few comments there, and I know you're not you're far from alien to this environment. So tell us more a bit about yourself briefly, but also what your connection is. You're a tarot reader, are you, and that sort of thing? But you tell us in your own words, please do.
I do tarot, oracle readings. I do a little bit of mediumship every once in a while. Spirit comes in, says hi, and brings whoever needs to come through. I do light language, singing, healing, and I'm pretty much like a jack of all trades of trying to find information that benefits anybody who I come across.
Have you always had these gifts, for want of better words? Some people like that word, some people don't, so I'm careful.
I didn't know what they were when I was younger. I used to have premonitions and dreams that actually were things that would happen in real life. And I was told, oh, those are just bad dreams. Don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. And that's what happens when you're a kid. Your parents or other people that are responsible for you, sometimes they just blow it off like it's just a new phase that you're in, or, but I think around, I want to say 2019 is when I kind of like jumped the gun basically and went to some classes and got told a bunch of things, and I'm just like, okay, so this is what my gifts actually are, and I got to tune them in a little bit more, and here I am.
The rest is history, as they say. But again, there's always, I mean, there's a handful of, certainly obvious multiple reasons why you might be discouraged. It might be that people themselves are afraid of this. They've had some sort of insight themselves in the past. It might be just a case of they're wrapped up, as I was saying earlier on, with their everyday life in the West,
exactly.
as we know it in the Western world, and they just haven't got time to look at it right now. And they'll be, oh, okay, so no. But I'll think about it and and come back to it, mental note, in a month or two or next year when I've got more time on my hands and I retire. And they often never do. And it goes on and on and on like that, which is why broadcasts like this, forums like this, platforms like this, and certainly the internet, it's making things so much more available to those that are just open. You might not believe A, B, C, all the way through to Z. But if we put the information out there for people to, become a part of and investigate, and as I say, inevitably, when they realise themselves, well, hang on a minute, this is the way I should be going, they can join the club, so to speak.
To everybody's own truths. It's basically their perspective of truth, and so eventually they'll get to a level where they're at where we're at now. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, this person has another perspective I didn't even see coming. And that's kind of what we're all here for. We're experiencing different levels of truths and experiences that can help the collective as a whole.
Definitely. I don't want to dwell much on the old COVID-19 situation, which we're all in right now as we speak, and as this is broadcast live. I say that, of course, because some people pick it up in months, years to come. It'll be somewhere on the internet, this chat. But right now we're having the introduction of vaccine passports for COVID-19, for traveling internationally. Even within the last 48 hours, our Prime Minister Boris Johnson, in 2021, he's saying that it is potential and it's to be considered that there will be passports for if you want to go out on a Friday, Saturday night to the local bar, pub. So straight away, there's a lot more people now. You can understand they might not be traveling, they might not be that type of person, but when you start encompassing more and more people from society, from different backgrounds, and wait a minute, one of the most popular things to do to socialise in the UK is visit your local pub. Now we've got everyone interested, saying, wait a minute, what is going on here when it comes to our freedoms? And really, we're going to be controlled in that way? No vaccine and no socialising in the local bar? Yeah,
they should read that book by, what was that guy? George Orwell.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Wasn't he English?
Yes.
Martin is talking from the country with the most security cameras in the world.
That is actually true. To the best of my knowledge, the last count, the UK still has the most security CCTV cameras around. Absolutely, yeah. I'm not sure that is something to be proud of at all.
They were probably going for the record, the Guinness record, right?
Possibly, but I don't quite think they should be worrying about that record and trying to be the top of that. Just like, sadly, we are at the top of the list when it comes to the number of fatalities, apparently because of COVID. Yeah, absolutely. So, can we get back to the topic of ayahuasca and that sort of ceremony? What other things would we say are around and available for people when it comes to that type of thing? If they can't travel or don't want to travel to South America, how can they start sort of getting involved in something along those lines?
Eric, you're living in was I wrong? Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay, so Tennessee. What kind of just to figure out what kind of situation or what area you're living in. What are the regulations in Tennessee? I was living in California. They started freeing stuff up a little bit. I remember I was living in Denmark before. When I was living in Denmark, it was illegal, but no, I'm not talking about just DMT. I'm talking about just the basic weed or hashish and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The access to it was illegal, but it wasn't too strict. Olga, you're in a place that's free, I guess, a little quite.
Yes.
As far as different kinds of stuff. And I know that recently was it Portugal? Portugal has like completely opened up. Oh yeah, there you go. Man, I wish I could join you. I'm in Japan. I'm in Japan now, where it's like no way, no way. Yeah, so I know with Portugal was it legalized everything too, and they say a lot of the crime, drug-related crime, a lot of problems, a lot of drug addicts probably decreased because they're much more open about it. And if they have a problem, because not everybody has a problem with certain things, but they can be much more open about it. So I'm just wondering where Eric is, what the deal is, because I know Jack Daniels is from Tennessee, and they can't even drink it where they make it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Tennessee, I stopped keeping up with how many states have done what, but we are still currently, it's not legal for medical or for recreational purposes. Here you can do the CBD, but not THC. So
Yeah,
if people know, CBD is more the medical grade. It doesn't get you high, and the
yeah.
THC gets you, visions and things like that. And so, yeah, it's interesting when you look into the history of that plant, because it's a natural substance that grows on the earth.
Ridiculous. Yeah.
Back in the 1890s, if you went to your doctor, you would actually be prescribed THC and CBD for different illnesses, and it wasn't until the
opium. They prescribed opium back then.
Yeah, and so a lot of those things became illegal, so that the pharmaceutical industry, the timber industry, and things like that could start blanketing
Absolutely
the monetary system. But
timber.
You're bringing up a good point. Like there's a lot of different substances. Like Martin's, inquiring. You can't go to South America. What are you going to do? So any kind of substance, too much of it's not going to be a good thing. But marijuana or cannabis it gives you that same euphoric kind of relaxed feeling. And so what it kind of also does is helps to prevent you from being programmed. You still think for yourself, like Jimmy's saying. You still provoke to ask questions.
It opens that door.
Yeah, yeah, and the same with like mushrooms and things like that. So it's very interesting that we're being and here's the one of the parts that why it's funneling down to this is you've had the whole sexual scandals with the children and all these things coming into the view of the world, and the powers that be that have, like you've been talking about, both of you, controlling this for so long, they're actually scared of the public knowing the truth, because they're afraid that we'll string them up and hang them. We'll take them out in the backyard and we'll shoot them. And that is something that a lot of people I hear would like to do, but
a good idea.
That's part of the bigger picture. Is we need to have empathy. We need to have forgiveness. So if we start stepping into these spiritual gifts, then we should be able to see that all this was orchestrated for our own higher, greater, best good, and therefore it was their purpose. They served a purpose for us, so we should be able to forgive them. That doesn't mean that we shouldn't maybe make sure that they're not doing things with small children or anything like that, but we don't need to just kill, because
you're talking about the people they serve a purpose as a gatekeeper, or a place that keeps society a little bit in line.
Yeah, so that we can discover it and step it more fully into our power. Because when you're suppressed in any kind of way, or like when you go to take the ayahuasca, you're entering into a ceremony where you are taking the poison. You are taking this thing that's going to suppress you in a way, give you a bad what we might consider a negative by puking or going to the bathroom or something like that. But the ultimate end goal is it enlightens you into your nature.
Okay, I have something to add here, because not only about ayahuasca, and I think it has to do with a lot of different. And you know what? Before I've even alcohol to a certain extent. That's why they call it spirits. That's why they call it spirits. There's a reason why it's called spirits. But like for you, if you're whether you're drinking or you are taking marijuana, I'm sure the ayahuasca, you're guided by a shaman who has knowledge, who's going to kind of protect you. But bad trips. You hang out with the bad spirits and you enter into that doorway, you open that doorway with bad spirits around you, you're going to feel bad. So there are, like, it's not just all positive. It has to be guided right. For the right purpose, the right reasons, the right direction.
Yeah, you go in, and the reason why they call it like a ceremony, like Martin was saying, is one of the first things that the shaman's going to do is sit you and participants down, and they're going to start talking about things like I brought up in the first of the broadcast: honesty, self-discovery, looking at yourself, raising your awareness, and all these things. So they'll put you in a mindful meditation before you start into one of these practices.
Yeah, mostly it's guided meditation, and most of the times the spaces are sacred. There really isn't, there's no evil can pass kind of vibe to it, basically. They make sure everybody is safely supported, secure. It's a very tranquil kind of vibe when you start going in. The reason why you even throw up during those experiences is because you're getting all the negative and gross toxins out. It has nothing to do with it being like a reason to get high.
Right.
It's just that's the way that the ceremony works, is to get out those toxins.
And Donald says a shaman can't keep you from having a bad trip. And they're not there to keep you from having a bad trip. In fact, if you're supposed to have a bad trip, that's part of the journey. You getting rid of these negative energies, like Jimmy's talking about, spirits or chemicals, like Gabrielle was talking about. So it's all designed in a self-cleansing, like I was talking in the beginning, emptying your cup because you filled your cup with a bunch of hoo-ha-ha or BS, and now you need to empty it and fill it with things that are of value that are going to help you prosper in life.
You needed to go through that process. If that's what the feelings you're going through or the emotions you're going through, what you're seeing is that you had to go through that process.
Yeah.
Sure.
Everything happens for a reason in that particular aspect.
But they are watching over you. They're taking care of you.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, they don't want you to pull a Jimi Hendrix and choke and die on your puke or something like that.
Wow. There's some insight there, that's for sure. Food for thought, some heavy stuff potentially for some, certainly for me anyway, let me say that, just to digest all this, going forward, it has to happen because there's so much more to explore.
So Martin, what's up with you?
How do you mean?
Well, what's going on in England, with that stuff? As I said, like in Japan, it's totally illegal. They've completely cut it off. I think that they used to use it, like marijuana or whatever you want to call it, back in the day. But I think that during the early 20th century, it's probably American influence. And as Eric was saying, there's like the lumber industry, newspaper industry. Newspaper industry was a big deal at that when they tried to promote paper in the lumber industry and the newspaper industry, because you could produce more paper with hemp. So they kind of stopped that from happening. But I know that I was reading about we were talking about not the THC, but the other one. What was it called? Not THC.
CBD.
The CBD that DMT, yeah. CBD that I know that the Brits have been actually, there's been a lot of medical studies in England about that, and the CBD studies. Has there not been, or are you aware of that?
I think there has been, Jimmy. I'm not 100% certain on that topic, but it's something that's still, again, a contentious issue as to, the usage of CBD oil and just in general, anything out there. Should it be classed as, well, straight away as you say the word drug, it has a different sort of suddenly a meaning in someone's mind than if you'd said medication. Right? That's how we're conditioned, when we're kind of talking about the same substances. You can talk about cannabis is a drug or a medication. Well, that depends whether the individual's taking it as a
potion.
being prescribed.
Maybe it could be a potion.
Could be anything, Jimmy, but the point is, as I'm saying, in general lexicon, in everyday terminology, if somebody says to you, hey, that person over here, they're taking drugs, it means something different to if they're taking medication, yet it could be the same thing, right? Depending on whether it was prescribed from their doctor or they bought it from their local drug dealer. Yeah. So, as I say, we are even screwed up just with that initial entry into a conversation, so I'm just saying we need to kind of break down the barriers there before we even begin talking about, is it good for us, is it bad for us, and more to the point, should it be allowed? Does anyone, I hope we're making sense there.
I think from my opinion is everything should be allowed, except for harming people and killing people and stuff like that. But almost everything should be allowed.
The problem is, though, mind-altering substances, some people out there aren't disciplined enough to know that if they're going to work as a pilot, for example, on a 12-hour shift, I don't know how many hours they work, but let's assume they do 10, 12 hours. Yeah, okay, if you're going to fly that plane, yes, it does have autopilot, but you still need to have your senses around you.
Absolutely,
and if this is smoking, one of the biggest joints in the world, then it's probably not the most sensible thing or
Martin,
responsible thing to be doing.
You're absolutely right. But when you've been smoking those, what did you say? What were you smoking? What were you going to be smoking?
A joint.
Because when you smoke that joint, you are the pilot. You didn't
right.
Get the joke?
Okay. I kind of did. Yeah. I know you'll be flying in one way or the other, but when you've got 300 people behind you there, you're sitting in the cockpit. I'm saying that there are, however few they are, even one is too many. Irresponsible person, then we've got a problem there. So obviously that's why authority steps in, etc., etc. We've seen it as well. Again, I've got to go back to the COVID situation. There have been protests after protests after protests, in the last 12 months while the virus has been ensuing. But you can just see immediately that a number of people, don't get me wrong, protest is necessary, it's great, and free speech, etc. But how many people I've been watching in close proximity without masks or even an attempt to just, keep the virus at bay from their spray. Anyway,
Yeah, and it's interesting that you say that too, Martin and Jimmy, because like I said earlier, any of these substances can be of benefit to you, but the moment that you cross that threshold where you lower your vibration, then you are now susceptible to lower vibrational spirits or energies or emotions and things like that. So yes, there is the responsibility. And when we're talking about a responsibility, we're also talking about responsibility for keeping our self in order, but also our home. So, talking about the timber industry coming in and, influencing things. What are they doing now? They're cutting down the Amazon at record rates. So here we found that the medical industry has gone to the Amazon in the past and seen where different chemicals can help in healing, and they then synthesize these things and make pharmaceuticals out of them. But also what the Amazon provides besides natural medications is it provides air, oxygen, H2O. And what spirit is the ether, the air. It moves on the wind. And so, we're really finding in our today's society that everything is encroaching on us. And we've got to kind of respect and have the responsibility to be the caretakers of ourselves and the place that we live to be able to find harmony.
Absolutely.
Glad there you go. A bit of agreement here too. Yeah, I'm listening. Any other comments there, Gabriel, Helga? What are your thoughts?
I need some comfort. Sorry.
That's okay, Gabriel, no problem. I know she's got her hands full there. I saw earlier on. I think her manager's there at the moment, or agent, one or the other. But yeah. Helga, just would you like to add anything to the conversation there? I mean, what are your thoughts?
Well, in the broadcast last night or this morning, I spoke about what we came to do, and we are the opposite of what others preach. And about the vaccine and all the things that we are going through, it's, in my view, for each one of us to make a choice. And every choice you make, it's a good one. Because it's bad.
Because, what was that? Because it's
your pet.
Right. I see. Take ownership and, we've got to sort of guide our pet in our own way and the way that we obviously feel fit. But yes, it's interesting you say so. So we are the opposite often to, would you say, so how we're being conditioned as well in our mortal existence?
Yes, you can see this COVID pandemic situation as a prison, to be held captive in your own house. But it can also be a situation to to free yourself from all those things that you didn't know that was really going on, and rediscover yourself. Go inside, connect with yourself, connect with your higher self, connect with God, connect with your universe, because all of that is inside of us.
Yeah, absolutely. But as we were saying before, people need to know how they can sort of start that journey, and sometimes they don't have the right people around them to sort of start that conversation and thought process with themselves, and which is why it's great that I think that we're here talking on this level today, as you guys often and girls often are doing now.
Just ask the question to the universe or to God, how you want to call it. Ask for those that will resonate with you to enter your life again.
Right.
No question is stupid. Like, even if you're asking yourself the question, it's not stupid at all. Yeah. It's just a matter of you expressing how you're feeling. We made a tent.
Sure, and Helga, I mean, would you suggest? I mean, your broadcasts that you have on online, people can connect with you right here. They can find you obviously by checking out your profile here. But this is something you're talking about all the time.
Yes,
and having this type of conversation and encouraging it as well. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. Because what I say is what is also inside of you. If people like me, it's the part that you like about yourself. If people hate me, it's the part that they hate inside themselves.
Right.
So
yeah,
the only reason I'm here is to share what someone else helped me to rediscover in myself.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's in general, obviously, the people around us, when we generally have conversations socially, that's often what it's about, isn't it? We're talking on topics that interest us, and again, also things that we're kind of wanting to discover more about, new things as well as existing and old. Yeah. So, but again, as you said before, it's I think still it's unfortunate that still I think that this type of conversation isn't had. I think often it has a lot to do with the fact that the majority of people are possibly a little hesitant because they don't want to offend others. I would suggest that some people think that the word spirituality, it's kind of very close to, as you mentioned before, your religious beliefs. If you want to sort of look in that direction, and that's the way you think, and you believe there's a higher being, and if you as I say, depending on what your culture is and your background, that may be the way you are. But
a lot of times it's the timing too. A lot of times it's timing. Some people, they don't get to that part in their life where they want to ask the questions, or they don't come to the fork in their life where they need to ask questions. There's a time. Most people probably do go to come to a certain time in their life where they start asking. So
yeah, but Jimmy, I would say, just taking a step back from that as well, we must understand that some people, they've been conditioned again from an early age that they don't have those freedoms, and it's something they're not allowed to do. Come on, I'm talking here about, for example, in some societies, women must not use this so much. They are there; they must be seen, not heard. A bit like children we often joke about sometimes. But women are treated differently, obviously, in many in the various cultures around the planet, and that's just one example. The difference between a male and a female.
No,
yeah?
I totally understand.
Yeah, right.
In those places, they are not allowed to talk about it. And luckily, we are in a place where we are allowed to talk about it. So yeah.
So absolutely, you said it. Yeah, we're very fortunate that we're able to do so, and therefore we're able to have this freedom of speech here right now. And a lot of people, again, they find it very difficult to find that little opportunity, that window of time where they can open up that dialogue and engage as well. Yeah. Hey, but hey, anyone want to say anything in the chat? Chat's got a little bit quiet here, but that's not necessarily a bad thing, because people also
Donald Brandt. Where's Donald Brandt? He's been he's making a lot of. Here he just dropped another one. You can grow your own mushrooms and eat them. Just go to Zamnesia to find a grow kit. It is a lots of fun and educational to learn about. Yeah, but let's see. Where are you, Donald? Where do you live?
Well, if we're using the technology correctly,
Jimmy, so he's in Copenhagen. He's in Copenhagen.
As I was
to say. Yeah, in Denmark. Was it That's right. I used to live in Denmark, Donald. And Copenhagen. I lived in Copenhagen for about 8 years. I went to high school in Copenhagen. So yeah, he's living in a very free, mentally free place. They can say what they want. They're allowed. They're a lot free. Oh, I'm from California. You're from California, but you're living in Denmark. Oh, okay. Yeah, California is somewhat free. Somewhat free. Yeah. A lot freer than where I am. But I'm okay with that, because spiritually, people it's a different place here in Japan. So
yeah, Japan's very open about spirituality. I love that.
Yeah, and I think simplistically, it just breaks down to those two factors. What y'all are talking about here. We have two choices in life: love or fear. And I always like to feel like it's going up the middle of both of those, because you need the fear to actually catalyze you to step through the doors. So, like Jimmy's saying, there's a lot of people that haven't gotten to that point in their life. And Martin's saying, there's a lot of control, and there's not an education system that promotes self-discovery, or what I would even go even further to say is self-love. Because when we don't know how to love ourselves, we end up fearing ourselves. Like Helga was saying, you know, when they look at her and they love her, they're loving the part inside themselves. But when they look at her and they get angry or fearful, that's the part of themselves.
The reflection they see, the reflection they see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as soon as you can look and see that the yin and the yang is the fear and the light is the love, and you need both to coexist, then you're more susceptible or ready to access that love, because you know that's really what's going to help give you the answers that you want. But right now we're being entertained, and being entertained is a form of illusion, and so you're not ever really addressing these things. So it's interesting, going back to the Jupiter, or I mean the Neptune retrograde. It's going to break the illusion, you know. And so once everyone can break those illusions of fear and start stepping through them, you've chosen love over fear.
Absolutely. I think it's a very interesting aspect. What you was it? Helga was mentioning that you know when you look at her or whoever, if whoever you're looking at, and if something you dislike, it's the dislike of something, a character that you are familiar with, but you dislike in yourself, and maybe that the other person that you're disliking is able to express it, and you fear that part of them expressing it. So it's that reflection part. It's a very fascinating thing. Oh, I think we lost our host. Isn't that strange?
Maybe he's having a bad day.
Oh, he's still definitely in the mix, listening around. Oh, absolutely, yes. Carry on, Jimmy. Host number 2.
Number 2.
I'm
Did you say number 2?
Producing. Oh, producing. Carry on. No. I don't know what's going on there. What was the fundamental question there? I didn't quite grasp.
There was no question.
Jimmy
was there a question?
Jimmy was pointing out the what Helga had said and the importance of that.
Yeah, the reflection. Like when you look at somebody and there's a certain dislike, that usually is the reflection that you see, that you could, something that they are expressing is something that you have in yourself that you associate, or you understand, but you dislike yourself, or you don't know how to express that part of you. So, and I thought it's a very fascinating thing, that before you discover that, usually people don't realize, like, you know, once you've discover that, then you look into yourself and try to, I don't know what you're we're constantly trying to fix ourselves or adjust ourselves, but before you realize that all you feel is anger or hate or these things that you feel, you don't understand. There's no way that you can control it until you understand that. That was my point.
You start to learn about yourself more, the easier it is for you to adapt and appreciate what other people are reflecting or feeling. It's a really beautiful thing.
Yep.
Because you can't help
I like what you
figure it out.
Yeah, I like what you said about the burning up, because, you know, that really makes me, and the beauty of it, you know, it takes me to the imagery of the phoenix. You know, when you start to get so angry and the fire consumes you, you burn up and all you have is ash. And once you realize that, well, then you don't want to feed that, and you start a regrowth process, and you start to value the higher and the greater aspects of yourself, or whatever it was that you were dealing with that destroyed you.
Phoenixes are basically rebirth. So after you've burned yourself to a crisp on that, then you know, basically you're being reborn the same way you were before, just a different version of yourself that you didn't know was possible. You could have a different plumage, if you will.
Yes.
I think it's interesting. Well, you're talking about in one human life cycle now, and this is something I can't say that I'm 100% about it, but like we go through cycles in life, and it's very interesting that when you realize that they're very similar cycles. Like you get these chances, after one cycle, you go through another cycle, just the cycles get bigger. It's like the cycles get bigger and they're the same sort of things that you experience, but you keep on experiencing the same thing over and over again. And each time you get to correct or improve on it. And how you use that energy is up to you. It might be a different situation, a different place, but it's the same thoughts and the same experience. It's kind of like the same experiences, but it's just the cycles get bigger and bigger, and you get this chance to improve on them. I think it's very fascinating.
That's the beauty. Astrology shows you that as well. It shows you how many lifetimes you've had to experience one particular thing that you thought you figured out already.
But I think you can experience these cycles in one lifetime, in one human lifetime. You have these cycles. Yeah.
If that is your pathway in life, yes, you can experience that multiple times in one lifetime.
I think I'm on my third cycle that I'm aware of. Probably maybe my fourth. I think maybe my second one was lost in my 20s, but I think I've been too much partying, so I lost that cycle. But now I'm on. It's like these arcs that we cross the arc. Well, let's say when I was a kid, I was interested in music, so there was this arc where I was trying to work with music, and then it disappeared. And then later on in life, I actually I had a band where I was working in music, and there was a period of my life that was engulfed with music, and then that passed, and that happened again a couple of years ago where I was working with music and I had this cycle. And so that was like the third or fourth cycle. And music is just one aspect of, there's many aspects of the cycle. It was just, that was a very distinct part of it. So. Yeah,
I can see where you're coming from that.
Yeah. So you go through a cycle again and again. It's like this and you'll find it very familiar. Like, okay, I kind of went through this cycle or this emotion, 12 years ago. I think we use a 12-year cycle a lot. Even in Chinese astrology, they use a 12-year cycle. So that's probably a good roundabout number. So
Brenda's got a good point here. Spiritual growth. Yeah, that's what that's called.
Yeah, spiritual. Exactly. But the thing is that it's actually a cycle. It's like one full turn. And then you get this chance. It comes around again, and it's not actually a physical thing. It's like more of a deep spiritual thing where you can work on. It might be not something that you can see physically. It's within you. This cycle.
I feel like since based in your childhood, though, that would be like something that your inner child needs taken care of.
Well, I don't think that you change from the time that you were a child. I don't think you actually change.
Oh no.
Like, the person you are when your consciousness started solidifying in this world is probably about 6 years old, 5-6 years old. That's you for the rest of your life. The way you thought, the way you think, the way your thought process, your emotions, the way you feel things, you can improve on it, you can change it, but the base of it, that's you. It's not going to change.
I agree.
It's interesting that you're talking.
Yes, Eric?
Go ahead, Eric.
It's interesting that we're talking about the death and the rebirth, and you brought up in the same life, Jimmy, because to kind of tie the ayahuasca and what's going on today, and then with spirituality and religion, the difference between religion and spirituality is religion is a set of boundaries, rules, and disciplines, supposedly pushing you for self-discovery or connection with the higher frequencies. And when you look at the DMT and what it does for you, and then you look at Christianity and what you all are talking about here is, the same thing that keeps coming up is everything is looking outside for the answers. And so one lesson that we could metaphorically pull or derive from Jesus Christ's story is you look at the numbers of 33. You look at the cross that he died upon, and then that he was born again. And then you look in Christianity and you hear them say, well, I'm a born again Christian because I was saved. I was saved by being dunked under the waters. And what I've come to understand is this is all metaphorically talking about a process that you can induce within yourself. The word Christ means the anointed one. So it's not just relevant to him, it's relevant to all of us, because what it's talking about is anointing thy third eye or thy single eye. And so when you take this fluid and you fill up your pineal gland, and you take it all the way down to the bottom of your spine, and then you raise it up, you go up 33 vertebrae. And when you pass your shoulders, you pass the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And then when you get to the top, you enter what they call the little death. And then you take that fluid and you recircle it back into your brain. And so you are born again because you have awakened this spiritual presence within yourself so that you can commune with Source just like Jesus did. And so everything in our life is pointing to go for the answers outside. But all these practices are actually metaphorically, it's kind of ingeniously hidden in there that you need to go inside.
Well, Eric, I just want to touch on a point here, because obviously, again, wrapped up in our daily lives and routine, often a lot of people, well, the excuse is, I don't have time or I don't know how to. But of course, it's you know, they'll say it's a reason, but generally I think that obviously it's an excuse. We need to make time. If we're really interested in something, really want to do it, we will make time. We will find time. But my question to you is one of the simplest ways to start connecting at this level, you know, without the rat race and the craziness that's literally outside your front door as soon as you open it in the city, particularly, is to possibly think about some sort of yoga, which leading to meditation, I was going to say.
Yeah.
And that would be, is that probably the most sort of accessible way for the average person listening right now?
Yeah, very, very good point. Meditation, that's what's basically been the fundamental of saving my life. And so a lot of people get intimidated by that. I know as growing up, I was labeled a hyperactive child and I was into extreme sports, surfing, rollerblading, doing all these things. But once I got to a place where I was required to just sit, I found out there's so many different meditations, you know, and there's obviously the receiving of information, there's the calming effects, there's the balancing of the mind, the masculine and the feminine, the left and the right side of the brain. So yeah, meditation, I would say, is one of the biggest keys, being able to sit with yourself or with others and experience the phenomena of yourself and the energies that are presently doing their best to communicate with you. Like if you have an illness, that's your body doing its best to communicate with you. You've ignored it. And so now you feel a pain or a symptom of something else that's going to get your attention so that you address it. So you sit down with it. So you meditate on, why is this happening? How can this benefit me?
Right. Yeah. Okay. And I guess that's something that, again, you deal with, Eric, when you speak with your people that are interested in focusing their energy in this way, new clients, people joining you on your broadcasts and trying to find out more about this aspect of our existence.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Right. Don't forget erichipes.com, isn't it? We'll remember that shortly. Sorry, Helga, did you want to come in at this point? Please do.
The way it started for me is when I hear that I created my own reality by the thoughts that I allow to get into my system. And that's the point that I could advise others. Watch what you are thinking, because Each thought is a seed. And when you are aware where you put your energy in the thoughts, you will automatically feel if the thoughts will be for the greater good or if it will be a thought that holds you back.
Okay.
So watch what you think, because we are the creators.
Yeah, very powerful. It kind of takes me back to what Jimmy was saying at the very beginning of the broadcast when you asked him, how he was feeling, and he said, nowadays, since COVID's, you get a cough and your first thought is, oh, do I have COVID? Oh, I've got a headache. Oh, do I have COVID? And that's kind of the whole programming of all of this is, they are dictating or feeding you a negative program that controls your thought patterns. And so meditation and spirituality, getting to know thyself, that's really your only cure to that directive.
A peaceful silence.
Jimmy, were you saying something there, Jimmy? Sorry, because I see your microphone.
I said a peaceful silence. I think it's time to say goodnight for me. It was a great show.
Oh, okay. Right.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, so.
You did?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Yes, thank you, Helga. Thank you, Eric.
Much love, Jimmy.
Oh, yes.
Much love.
Yes.
Pleasure talking with you, Jimmy. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Sweet
Thank you
dreams.
very much. So, Jimmy, you're heading out a little earlier than your first. Wow, bailing out. Number one to go.
Yes.
It's late there. Okay.
We've been broadcasting for an hour and 37 minutes. That's up to 11.
Yeah, I think it's yeah. Oh, there you go.
I was waiting for Eric to interject there. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So, are there any final thoughts, please, from you, Eric, and again, for Helga, again, if you wish, but also Gabriel too.
I'll let one of you guys go first, because if one of my kids come in, I'm gonna have to mute again.
Already?
All right. I'll go ahead and go first.
Oh, Eric,
go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
Ladies first. I should have been more polite.
Helga.
I'm grateful for being here and connect with all of you to bring some other views and connect with those who are open for themselves. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much there to Helga. And if I can press the right buttons and get things in some sort of order again. Jimmy's now left us, so let's see. Yes, we had a little technical glitch about, I don't know if anyone else heard, about 7 minutes ago, approximately, with some music. Yeah, you did. Thank you for that, Helga. She's nodding there. So that's. I'm glad I'm not the only one that heard that. Otherwise, I would be kind of wondering what's going on there. But yeah. So again, final thoughts then, please, from the USA. It's either he or she time.
Erica,
who's going first?
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. I would like to just say I'm grateful and thank you for everybody for joining this broadcast or the restream. Thank you, Martin, for conducting this and allowing us to have the space to, you know, be open and free to speak about these things and share. And I really feel it's imperative to share these things at these moments, because the way I've been receiving it, and Martin and I have talked about this, you know, there's a great synchronicity. There's a great, Helga talked about it, you know, just ask the question and the people will start showing up. So I consider everyone here a part of my family, it's part of my spiritual family. And my gratitude is for you all. Thank you for showing up. Thanks for you for being you. And I love you all.
Wow, Eric, thank you very much from you. And a final word then from Gabriel before we all say goodbye.
Well, it's a pleasure to be on here with all y'all, and I couldn't be more impressed with the topic at hand. It's a unique thing to talk about, because not a lot of people do talk about it, and that's why they're ignorant or unaware of what these things are and how to use them right and all that jazz. I do recommend, if you are going to be like diving into this kind of stuff, don't do it internally first. I think research is very important. Research and ask questions to people that you know may have been using these items and get some perspectives on that. There's also classes that are available as well. Love and light to all of you, and have a beautiful, blessed day. Enjoy your time with your family, your friends, even though it has been a struggle with COVID-19 for some people. I do feel that getting this extra time with people that you love and cherish is an honor and a great privilege. So take it in, just enjoy while you can.
Thanks very much, Gabriel. And again, thanks to everyone. Jimmy, who's sort of disappeared now, because after all, it is kind of late there in Japan. So much so that, as ever, we're talking to him on a Friday as ShineCast goes out live. And I say this, which means that for Jimmy, it's very early Saturday morning, around about 1:30 a.m. So he'll no doubt have to be up early for work tomorrow morning, as he often is. So thank you to Eric. Thank you to Helga. Thank you so much to Gabriel. And thank you also for sharing out there, liking, commenting. And hey, this is, well, there's never been a better time to get involved, and a time when I think this sort of conversation as we had today, certainly on this sixth sense spiritual level, and positiveness is needed, particularly with COVID-19. And what circa 12 months for a lot of people it's been, really, and it's ongoing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Take one step.
And do connect with. Yes, Gabriel.
Oh no, I was just saying, take one step at a time. Just keep doing you.
Always. Always, absolutely. And again, if you enjoyed what you were listening to today, then please do connect directly with all guests here. Certainly, they're all on the haps.tv platform. You can head over to that website and URL, or alternatively download on your digital device, iOS or Android. So until next time, everyone, I'm going to say very, very quickly, thanks for joining ShineCast, and we'll speak soon. And stay safe, and it's bye for now. Until then. That's good. That's good. We're still live, everyone. I'm just going to end the live in a moment when I come back in vision there. We're all back. All right. So thanks for watching on Haps, everyone. This is the bit that most people don't normally see after titles, beginning of titles and all that. Thanks, everyone. If you just we're going to say goodbye on the live stream.